Hey guys, this video is going to be about a common scenario that you support players may find yourself in, and exactly how I would recommend going about it. So let's go ahead and pull up a clip from one of my streams to get you guys in on the context of the situation.
Where are you? We can rape top. Why
Dude, the other lanes are losing, man. I have to help them, man. Hate people that bitch at you like that. It's literally the most annoying shit.
Banana slam jam.
So obviously, I have tried to gank the other two lanes, and I am annoyed. And this is something where I expressed that in the game, maybe not the most constructive way to do it, but the idea is what I do next is what's really important. So what goes through my head is that I can't really help all three of my lanes. My safe lane was losing, my mid lane was down by a level against a Visage, so if we give up that lane, we're going to lose our tower. So then I come to the conclusion that whenever you're losing three lanes, or most of your lanes, you need to consolidate your resources, move a gank into one lane, and then tell one guy that's in his bad lane to come to the mid lane, because usually the mid lane is the safest lane. So that's a common move that's going to be game changing for you guys if you can coordinate. So that's what I'm going to do immediately next, and let's go ahead and check out the clip. Let's smoke the top, Pango, maybe? Or smoke the bottom. Can we kill Undying? Dawnbreaker, take mid. Just take mid on Dawn. They might have seen us. I feel like my ogre's not playing support. Yeah, they have a ward there. I'll de-ward it later. They might not. Nice. Ogre, can you try to buy some wards and stuff? They saw our smoke, I think. So I think a common issue in these types of scenarios, which I would sum up as losing the other two lanes when you're winning your lane, is that you're left with the decision, right? People ask me, am I supposed to keep pressuring the lane that I'm currently in as a support, or am I supposed to look to help the other two lanes? And so right now, I'm going to break down the thought process that I would use in any of these types of scenarios to help you guys understand the positives and negatives and the potential impact of leaving your lane or staying in your lane. So I have paused us in the game that where we just killed top. And you can look at the net worth here and see that Dawnbreaker is absolutely owning top. And then you can also see that my PL is in poverty mode bottom. And I heard him constantly complaining on the mic, basically saying the ogre is not helping him at all. And so I had that good impression. And then I also saw that Visage is going to hit 6 prior to my Pango. So what happens here is when you're winning your lane, you then have to think, how good or bad are the other lanes doing? So I also think, how close are they? This is really important. So let's say I look bottom right now, right? And I can see that Undying full HP against a lane that's getting like absolutely slaughtered. It's not good to leave your lane to help a lane that's not helpable. So the first question I ask is, how close are these lanes? Yes, I feel like they're losing, but how close are they, right? How helpable are they? Because the worst thing we could do is go down here, be in a lane that's not helpable, and then just get stuck here with 3 heroes in a losing lane. That's something we definitely have to avoid that could potentially lose top lane and bottom lane even more at the same time. So then I think if the lanes are close, is this something where the opponent's going to be pressuring my teammate? Or are they going to be like killing my teammate? Does my teammate have kill threat on them, right? So let's go over the first option. The first option that I always prioritize the most is if I feel like any of my lanes that are losing are going to lose their towers really fast. This is especially important against pushing heroes. So I saw that Visage was level 6. I know that Visage is a heavy pushing hero. So in my eyes, I had to try to alleviate pressure on this lane first. So we go to this lane just to like scare off the Visage a little bit, just to give a little moral support to my Pango, making sure we secure him the 6-minute rune as best we can so he's not on his own little island. He ends up using roll in order to try to get the rune, but he doesn't get it. And this is the type of thing where if I'm not here, I feel like he's going to be struggling a bit more, right? I'm just protecting him from the opponent, and I'm going to die instead of him. And so what happens here is now I'm thinking, well, this lane's going to keep getting pressured. This rotation didn't exactly work out because I feel like my Pango kind of wasted roll, and because he was so far behind, I was just trying to help him a little bit, but it turned into a situation where now we're getting dove here. But I look down here and see that, oh, Undying's kind of sitting on low HP. That's something I have to keep an eye out for. So first and foremost, I can't just leave my Pango to lose his tower. So as a support, a really important move you can make if you feel like your mid laner is getting pressured is to TP back in and fill his bottle. That's going to be a massive impact on his ability to stay in lane, and you can almost like check him off, you know, and say, okay, this guy's good for the foreseeable future. If you can ever do that with the mid lane specifically, that is super important, because when you're losing multiple lanes, if there's one quick action like filling a bottle that buys you time to not be losing multiple lanes at once, then you can effectively clean up this messy situation. So I saw that Undying was super low. That was what I saw. So suddenly this lane that seemed unhelpable, right? Absolute disaster. We're looking at the net worths here. My PL is barely ahead of his supports, and he's getting doubled up by the Undying. You know, suddenly I see this opportunity, and so I make a move to the bottom lane, right? And we're going to get a absolutely crucial kill on this Undying in the bottom lane. This is a move I would have never made if Undying was full HP unkillable, right? But you have to take these opportunities. If they don't present themselves, then look to go back to your lane. Now, a side note about all of this is when your offlaner or carry is very strong, I want you guys, because you won them the lane, right? If you're playing 5 or 4, I want you guys to be thinking, you know, what makes this hero strong? So a perfect example is if you gave Spectre free farm. Would you want to play towards the Spectre, or would you want to play away from Spectre, right? And because Spectre is strong based on Haunt, you would want to play mainly away from Spectre. It's the same idea with a hero like Dawnbreaker. You know, this guy ends up complaining that I left his lane, but if I feel like my other lanes are struggling and my Dawn is having a good game, Dawn is a hero that flourishes when the other lanes are contested, and she can use ulti globally to help them, similar to like a Nature's Prophet or anything like that. But if we're comparing this to an ultimate-based offlaner that pressures towers or also just like wants to consistently stay in the same place, like a Viper, a Necrophos, Tidehunter, Mars, you know, some of these heroes can rotate, but especially these slow-ranged heroes, if they have an ultimate, make them use or help them use it, you know? So what I would do if I had a hero like that was, rather than leaving top when I did, I might go check Rune, right? While Dawnbreaker was level 5. In this case, it's like a Necrophos or something, one of these ultimate-based heroes that I want to help. I would go check Rune while they're level 5, then come back when they're level 6, help them use their ultimate, and then leave. That's the same idea as checking off a lane, right? Where I did with the Pango. Obviously, the Pango died here still, not exactly sure how, but I checked off that lane saying I gave him bottle refills. He should be good for the next 30 seconds to a minute. And if you feel like you did that, you know, it's fine. Pango died, whatever. Like, I did what I thought I could do to help him. So that's life. So then, right, this situation leading up is so much about being confident in what just told you guys. I feel like so many supports are crippled by the fact, like, of this anxiety that their core is going to die while they're gone. So something that's really important here that I'm actually going to do that I have not done yet is simply ask myself a question. When you leave a lane and one of your cores is bitches at you, because this is stuff that, like, if you don't have really good knowledge of every core in the game, you might mess this up, right? I mean, there's going to be situations where any player at any bracket messes this kind of stuff up, where you need to, if you left a lane, you need to go back and watch what that guy was doing when he was 1v2 and see if he properly adjusted, right, to you being gone. Was he still playing hyper aggressive like you were there trying to own the lane even though you're gone? Or was he like playing as scared as possible, super passive, trying to just get XP and still dying anyways? There's a big difference there, right? Because if it's the former, then you're going to be in a situation where like, well, that guy could have just not died. But if it's the latter, you need to be like, oh, he's actually fucked if I'm not there. So we need to be there to help him next time. That's a hero that probably needs more help from me in this specific matchup. I would ask myself why that matchup needed my help. So we're going to go ahead and just watch, because this is about 30 seconds before my Dawnbreaker, you know, gives me the good old whining complaint. So he's gonna go lane normally 1v2. See, like, now this is a situation where if I'm Dawn and I'm alone, unironically, I would just hammer this wave, kill it really quickly, and leave. That's what I would do. I would either hammer this wave because I know I'm alone. What he's doing is holding spells. And the only reason you would hold spells as any hero in the game is because you think you're a threat, right? You think if I hold these spells and they come contest me, that I'm strong, right? And so what happens here is that was what I would want him to do if I'm there. Absolutely, it makes sense. But he's not actually adjusting. I did not know this, by the way, prior. I have not watched this replay yet, but that's exactly what I would do. But he lanes like normal, gets gone on, just fight like, you know, has to use his spells defensively, and then dies. And I would say that if he hammered this wave immediately and walked away, this would have never happened. And I hope you guys can agree with me that that would have probably never happened. So I'm perfectly fine with my decision in hindsight. I was ready to be wrong here, guys, by the way. I was totally ready to be wrong here. But after watching that back, I'm perfectly fine with the fact that I left him alone. And I want you guys to realize that if it's something that's out of your control, if it's something that, like, you know, if this guy could have just played better, he wouldn't have died. It's really important as support, really important as any role in the game, that I've started adapting this mindset that is their MMR. That is not mine. If I left them in an unplayable scenario, that's me. That's my fault. That's my MMR. But if I left them in a situation that was survivable, they could have done something better with it, and they still died, that's their MMR. I know that sounds weird, and I know that may hurt you in certain games, but I promise you, I really hope you guys can trust my MMR gain as like proof in the pudding here, that is how you will gain MMR, is it accounting for whether or not that decision was a reflection of your MMR or theirs. So this game, I think, is such a good example because so many supports suffer from this. And I think this simple replay review of whether or not your core could have played without you, you could have come up with a way that they could have laned or just like pushed the wave and left or cut creeps or just jungled while you were gone. You know, like Dawn's decent at jungling with level 3 hammer. You know, there were a lot of options for her here, but she just laned normally and then died without you there. And that is something that will happen even more as you go down the MMR brackets. And is something that it really cannot dissuade you guys from making the right play. Because I firmly believe that if I just allowed my PL to sit bottom getting railed by this Undying, that we probably lost this game. And if I didn't try to help Pango alleviate a bit of pressure on mid lane, that we might have lost that tower very early in the game, making it much more likely for us to lose the game. So there's a lot of things to consider here, a lot of things to unpack, but I hope you guys see from this example what I did to solve it, how I came to that solution, and then in hindsight, reviewing it and seeing if I feel like I could have helped this Dawn. Because you do have to think about the results of your plays, but you also have to think about, like, was that the best option? So if I made a move to mid, it didn't work, and then I see clearly that my Dawn simply couldn't lane without me, next time around, I'm going to be more likely to stay in my lane. This is the type of learning process that I go through all the time as support, and you guys can too. But it's really all about the same idea as that Dota Diary video I released about a week and a half ago, which was talking about not making other people's mistakes. This is a mistake that you're taking into your own hands. I think in this game, I did it right. But in other games, I'm going to do it wrong, and I'm going to maybe grief my offlaner a bit, right? And that's something where I need to own up to the fact of whether or not I made a good choice or not, and ignore what this Dawn said to me, right? In terms of letting it impact my future decision making. But at the same time, what even makes this a better example is she bitched at me. I realized her lane was bad. So rather than focusing on the fact that she bitched at me, I said, hey, Dawn, you can take this lane mid, which is going to be safe for you. We can go bottom. And then suddenly we've got a kill going on bottom and a offlaner that's not dying in the meantime. That's the kind of stuff that really, that's the game management that supports can have. And sometimes your teammates just aren't going to listen, guys. I totally understand that. But I firmly believe that I carried this game with my directions and calling. And I am very proud of the decisions I made in this one. And I hope it's a good example for you guys to learn from. Thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe. Bye.